Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Don't Blame Me. Today's fantastic episode is Lee Newton, and we debate the topic of promise rings and engagement rings because a girl is apparently going to get one from a psychic aunt. I don't know. It's quite interesting. And we also talk about a girl who just wants to hoe out. And is that bad? Is that good? Plot twist. Hoe the fuck out. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Don't Blame Me. Today's guest is the fantastic Lee Newton. Hello.
Hi.
Your hair is so cute and pink.
Thank you so much. It's kind of a fun new journey.
Is this a recent?
It's recent. It's like within a couple months. It's been really fun. It's been very interesting.
Very nice on you.
Thank
it doesn't
you.
look bad, which usually, like, not that I'm not a fan of colors, but like this is done, like, I would think that you were born with pink hair.
Oh,
do you know what I mean?
Thank you so much. No, it's been a real fun, weird journey. It's also, I didn't know that there's like a whole subculture of like unicorn haired people that all have like products that they use and like worlds and like speak that they speak. And I feel
like it's a lot of Etsy. Like a lot of things, like shampoo you have to buy on Etsy.
And a lot of Amazon, a lot of like weird little like subcult, like online thing, overtone and like weird things that you're like, I never knew. And then they're like, do not do that. And I'm like, oh, okay. Sorry.
You have to learn how to be a whole new person with hair.
It really is true.
Wow.
It's been fun.
It's very pretty. Thanks. If you guys also want to see it, we are filming this podcast episode for YouTube.
It's true.
So if you're listening to it, go check out her beautiful pink hair. It's definitely like hair. Like this is something I could see someone bringing into like a salon and be like, this is the kind of pink I want. Which my stylist always gets found. People do that. She goes, I can't do that.
I know, because that's not who you are.
It's filtered probably, and you're a different person.
I do that all the time to my stylist too, though. I was like,
can you
this
do
person, can I be this person? She's like, you can't be Madonna.
It's me bringing in Candace Swanepoel, and my stylist is like, okay, fat chance, honey. That's not happening.
Thank you. I'm like, so this is Kate Moss.
I just like want to be her.
Figure it out.
Make it happen. Thank you so much. And I'm going to give you $100 and that's it. Well, guys, this is Don't Blame Me. It's an advice podcast. Oh, fuck. I forgot to introduce not that I'm going to say we're not the best, but Melissa and her camera.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Hi.
We've decided we're now going to color coordinate for every episode.
I think that's beautiful.
I think we should just be matching and then I was going to say and never address it, but if we address it here, then everyone who listened to this episode will know, but then we'll never bring it up again.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think
we should just match.
I think it's essential.
I think it's a really good idea. And if it wasn't so hot in here, we could do like onesies or something funny.
Oh, it's a dream. Or tracksuits, just like beautiful tracksuits.
I love
a matching tracksuit.
Yeah.
I love a matching
I was so
tracksuit.
sad when those went out of style for a while. I still held on to like my old school like juicy sweats.
They're
back. They're back.
They have to be back. If Kylie Jenner is going to wear it one time and then it's going to be hot cakes.
Completely. Except she got rid of her lip fillers. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. Did she get rid of them or did she just reduce them?
I think, you can like dissolve them because they're like.
That's got to be what it was.
Cushy stuff.
I think it was just she was realizing she looked cartoonish and then was like, I've got to decrease this.
Don't think she could get them when she was pregnant. So I wonder if she was just like, oh, maybe I'll. But I don't know. I saw a really funny meme about like.
I feel like she would be the person.
Maybe that's why she went to hiding because she couldn't
get it all.
She couldn't keep up with her face. Well, it's also a weird thing because I think about it all the time and. If you look at her, you're like, oh, that's a 55-year-old woman. Like that is
she's still hot.
Do you think so?
I think she's so pretty.
I think she looks so cartoonish. I saw Kim Kardashian
I
IRL,
love cartoons though.
And I know, me too. Me too. Like you like the Jessica Rabbit. I want to be Babs Bunny, but I get it. So I know.
I want to be Totally Spies. Powerpuff Girls, Sailor Moon.
Oh. That feels right for you.
Doesn't it?
I want that for you so bad.
Thank you so much.
I do. I really
all
do.
I want in life is to be Sailor Moon.
For you.
It'd be a good Halloween costume one year. Not that anyone else hasn't done it before.
I think you got to go take a twist on it, though.
What's my twist, though?
I don't know, like adult Sailor Moon?
Yeah. Sailor Moon.
Or she's just like, I wear pants now. Like that happens.
Feminist.
All right? I'm a feminist Sailor Moon.
Oh, it's a good one.
I wear pants. I'm a CEO of my company.
Sailor Moon CEO. Yeah. Headed chief of the, I don't know.
Editor.
Words are hard, okay?
Words is hard.
Okay. So yeah, this is an advice podcast. I'm getting so sidetracked. And my face reacted. Guys, you might not be able to hear that. There was some sound thing that stressed me out.
Something. It was beautiful, though.
But this is an advice podcast where people call in and leave us voicemails, and then we give them advice and tell them what to do with their lives. And the number to call if you guys want to be on the episode is 310-694-0976. And for our international listeners, if you email an MP or whatever, a video file, an audio, MP3, MP3.
Yeah, MP3 or
Guys,
M4A.
I'm struggling. Okay, I wasn't going with that one.
It's like
MP3.
coming in hot.
if you
with the
record
info.
if you record an audio file and email it to meghanpodcast@gmail.com, we can play it and then give you some advice. So how do you feel like, where are your advice giving skills at? Do you give unsolicited advice?
I don't ever give unsolicited advice because I hate it.
Oh, same. But I give
like I mean I do give it, but I am always the person that people come to after breakups and stuff. I'm consistently that.
That's a good person to be.
I have friends that like I won't see them until something horrible happens, and then they're like, "Hi,
That's called
how
a therapist.
are you?"
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Are you
I know, it
charging?
really is.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. My mother is a therapist. My sister's a neuropsychiatrist.
Oh, wow.
And we're all a very open family. So get ready, because I might have mediocre advice. Yeah, I mean, I never take their advice. Or I was like, here's what you do. And I'm like, what do you know?
What are those degrees?
What do you know?
Those
What do you get
degrees.
paid?
Yeah.
What do you make a living off of this? Grow up. And then I go off and do the same thing. So, you know. I mean, I'm just letting you know it's mediocre advice. But I can,
They can't blame us.
give it like the best of them. I can also only speak to my own experiences. So that's my disclaimer.
Yeah.
Hi, Meghan. I'm 22 years old, and I'm in a serious relationship. And a couple weeks ago, he brought up that he wanted to get me a promise ring just to show me that he is really serious. Like, we've talked about marriage. We know that we want to get married. We know that we want to have kids in the future. We're both kind of waiting to finish. I'm finishing school. He's moving up in his career. But someone brought it to my attention when I mentioned it. It was actually his sister-in-law. She was like, "Wait, so he's proposing?" And I was like, "Wait, I thought a promise ring was just like a relationship thing." So then it was brought to my attention that a lot of guys don't know the difference between a promise ring and an engagement ring, and some girls don't either. I honestly never, considered that, but it does make sense. So I guess I just wanted to ask your opinion. Do you think a promise ring means an engagement ring, or is a promise ring just a boyfriend and girlfriend thing, and then eventually there's an engagement ring? Also, his sister-in-law's aunt does have a gift, I guess you could say. She can kind of, I guess in a way, see the future, or she can sense things that are going to happen. And she has told me things that are going to happen before, and they've all come out correct. So I 100% believe her. And she said that he thinks that what she can see is that he thinks a promise ring is an engagement ring, and she does for a fact see us getting married, and that I will be getting the ring sometime before summer. So, with that said, should I start planning my wedding, or should I just maybe ask him about it? Because we haven't brought it up ever since the first time he said it to me. It's not been brought up at all. But, according to her, I am for sure getting the ring, whether it's promise or engagement, by this summer. So, I don't know, should I just let it be a surprise or kind of clear that up with him and see where he stands? Let me know what you think. Thank you.
I have so many thoughts.
Mel might die.
Mel's gonna die. Mel, arms up. Don't choke.
I'm so sorry.
I tickled her good. We got her good. Oh, you tickled.
I'm so sorry.
Oh my God.
It really
It's just a lot going on.
It's
Yeah,
a lot.
I
It is a
also-
lot going on.
if you're listening to this episode, caller, just listen. Please don't watch the video.
No.
Just listen. You just listen. Please.
I love it.
It's a lot to unpack.
It is a lot to
but
unpack.
also very little to unpack.
Yeah,
at the
it's actually
same
very little to
time.
unpack. Do you?
Okay.
I can dive in.
You please start.
Okay.
Well, I regain my composure.
I feel like I'm gonna actually take it seriously and be like, listen. Okay, but one, you're 22, which is totally fine if this is something that you want in your life. A promise ring, I don't know. It sounds to me like it's like a loose engagement ring. I
thought it was about sex.
No, I mean that's the Jonas
Purity
Brothers.
ring?
That was
Oh,
a purity
that's
ring.
literally my.
Purity ring.
That's the
Yeah.
Jonas
Do
Brothers.
you know I asked
I
for
know.
one.
I grew up in a Christian home. I had
Oh
a
my
promise ring,
God.
girl.
I
And
asked for one because I was
got
like,
lost.
I need it because Nick and I are gonna have sex, and he needs to know that he's gonna be the only one, and then I never got it. And
Yeah,
then
no, I
didn't have
got
sex with him.
one that my parents gave to me, being like, "Here you go," and then they were like, "You lost your ring," and I was like, "Huh."
And he lost my virginity too.
But
So they're different.
They're different. They're very different. Promise rings can be like it's kind of big. Sometimes it's big in religion too, like where it's
Okay.
like you promise this, but it's not. We're not ready for the engagement ring yet.
It's big in the South.
It's big in the South. It's
Yeah.
huge in the South. It's also really big amongst younger people.
Yeah, that's why I was
because
surprised she
I think
was
it's like
22.
such a
It was
big
like high
thing
school.
that like, you know, I mean, I have a lot of Southern relatives and they all got married very young. But yeah, I think it's one of those things where there's such a weird illusion. I got married last year. I've been married a year.
Congrats.
Thank you so much. There is such a weird feminine illusion of like you want this surprise and you want this like huge reveal, and it's all about like how special you are to them. And I think there's a big buildup with like getting engaged, you know, and like and what the ideal thing is and if it's special enough for you. And I kind of also think being a year into it, talk to your significant other, for the love of God. Like, be candid and open, and if you know something's coming, great, you know something's coming, you just don't know how it's going to come and how special the moment's going to be. But like, please talk. Like, I think we think it's got to be this veiled illusion of just like, ooh, I don't want to bring it up because I don't want to ruin the surprise. It's like, it's your life, it's the rest of your
I
life.
hope it's not a surprise.
huge-
Like, I hope you
I hope you
plan
know.
to like
I hope you know that like
start a future
yes,
eventually.
and I also hope that you like know what a responsibility it is. Like, yeah, again, I'm a year in and it's like these are huge life decisions. I don't regret it for anything in the world, but I certainly knew it was coming.
Yeah.
You know, like I actually knew exactly when it was coming. I knew he was bad at hiding it. But it's, you know, I really think there's those, have the conversation, like have it, be honest. If you don't want it to be an engagement ring, you got to let them know. Just be like, I'm all for a promise ring. I'm all for committing to like furthering this, you know, however we can. But if you want it to be an engagement ring too, then which it sounds kind of like you do want it to be that. Then
Does it go on that finger?
Same
Does
finger,
it look
same
like
finger,
one?
It looks like one. It's
Oh.
literally the same
Huh?
thing.
I mean, I think if he says, will you marry me, that will let you know if it's an
yeah,
engagement ring
engagement
or a
or
promise ring.
yeah, exactly.
So-
but it is one. If you have a conversation with him, like if he says that he's doing that, don't let it be veiled anymore. Don't let it be, because then my mother says an expectation is a resentment under construction. So if you have, it's really good.
Ooh,
It's a real
therapist.
I'm gonna
therapist.
have to write that down.
I like
It's
that.
so good. But it's one of those, like, if you have this expectation of like whatever it's going to be, but you don't communicate it, then it's a huge
Someone's
deal.
disappointing you,
Someone's
and they
disappointing
didn't
you.
know that they were a
Yeah.
part of that.
Also, I was engaged when I was 18 to a very different person. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to be engaged, but because I got so caught up in the whole thing of like engagement and like marriage, and I guess it's something I'm supposed to do, I said yes when I shouldn't have. I knew in the moment that I like, he got on Winnie and I was like, shit. But I also didn't want to lose him as a partner.
Yeah.
And if I would have just communicated to him beforehand, instead of being like, I thought he would have. I was like, oh my God, I think he's gonna propose. And I should have just sat him down and gone, hey, don't do that. Like, this will be 4 years of our life where we're engaged and it's weird
And we
and
can
we're
just
too young
date.
and we can just date.
Yeah.
And maybe, who knows, if we would have just talked it out, I might have had a different person. But you know, it's like, I didn't want that person. but it's just one of those things where it's like, I was engaged for it was such a weird thing. It was such an odd thing, and I very much wasn't ready because I had to keep that veil of surprise and illusion.
Well, that's what I wonder with her. I wonder, do you want to be engaged?
Yeah.
Does he think that this is something that you want?
Yes.
Because I also think, I mean, I am fully saying that I really, obviously, clearly don't understand a ton about promise rings. Grew up in like liberal Northern California. I'm I don't know what that is.
Sure.
But I think also it's, at least if it happens usually when you're younger, I can kind of understand that more, because it's like, hey, this is something, like, this is saying that, like, despite the fact that we're young, our relationship is very serious and this is where we see it going. But if you're into your 20s and getting engaged, I don't know, this sounds to me like if you're in an area where people, like, promise rings are a thing and you guys, people do that, maybe it is the South, maybe people are getting married younger, how long would you wear a promise ring to then wear an engagement ring? And also, is it him, is this him saying that he wants to get engaged, or is this him thinking that you want to get engaged and he's not ready for that, and it's managing the expectation by putting like another title?
Or does he just want to bone you?
Have they had sex? Do you
I don't know.
Do you
promise
have
rings can sometimes be that, where it's literally just like, where it's a promise and we're
and then
deeply
you have
committed,
sex
and
after
then
the
you get
promise
married.
ring?
Yeah. So that is the question. That's an honest question.
Yeah.
It's like, it is a thing of like, you know, here, and it kind of gives leeway to like, you know.
Well, why can't he just get you a nice piece of jewelry as a gift for your birthday or whatever holidays you want to celebrate, like Arbor Day? Like, get you a really nice piece of
love
jewelry.
an Arbor Day necklace.
Love a good Arbor Day necklace.
I love an Arbor Day necklace.
All about it.
our Flag Day
Ooh,
ring.
yes.
What a dream.
So
good.
good.
I can't wait, Diane.
Diane.
Oh, I'm so ready.
But I think like if you can do something like that where like I've got like a couple of pieces of jewelry that like my boyfriend's gotten me this ring and he's gotten me this ring, and neither of they were for like Christmas and stuff, but it's not, they're things that I wear every day that I look down and I'm like, oh sweet,
So
like
sweet.
this reminds me of
So
him.
sweet.
But it's not, they don't hold any like additional meaning, and I think and until we would get engaged, I don't need it to hold more meaning than like, oh, this is great. And also, if you guys have already talked about you want to end up together and have like kids and be together, you've made that verbal promise to each other.
It's very true.
So I think unless you really want to get engaged and you want to get married, I don't know what the point of it is if. And that's the only way you can figure that out is by talking to him and like what
I think
he
you
thinks
have
it
to have a
means.
very candid conversation, because again, it's not going to ruin any surprise. I think people do. They wrap it up in this like, am I special enough, or are you committed to me, and what that means about you, whether or not what that means about the relationship and how it is your whole life that you are continuing on with this person. And so it's a very like you have to really have that full. What does this mean? I mean, even in marriage now, I'm having like conversations that I go, ooh, we should have talked about that. Like literally like, we should have, God, where was that? Why didn't we have this conversation? But there's going to be those things that keep coming up. So as long as you can open the door with as much candidness as possible. And if you want to get engaged, then tell them that. And you might have to wait a little bit to get engaged, and you might not have a promise ring. But, also, there's nothing wrong with a long engagement. That's my honest opinion.
Oh my God, I want to be engaged for as long as possible, because just the idea of then everyone's like, oh my God, how'd you get proposed to? And it's just all about the attention and like not about like, oh, when are you going to have kids? Like, when's it coming up? And all of that pressure of.
I had the shortest engagement and I wanted a long one so badly. My husband had a 101-year-old grandma that we really wanted at the wedding.
Yeah.
And so it was literally like we got engaged in December, and then we got married in June, and we decided like in April that we were going to get married in June, which was a very dumb move on my part.
That's impressive though.
Thank you very much. I had constant nosebleeds.
Yeah. So much cocaine.
Yeah.
That's my wedding in 2 months.
This is so stupid. So dumb. But it was, it's one of those things of I really think it's such a huge commitment, and it's such a big deal that, you said, should I plan my wedding? You seemed very excited about that. So have that talk, man.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being 5 years. Also, depending on where you're going to find your venue, like it's going to take you forever anyways. Like they're booked out. I have friends that are getting married now that got engaged like 4 years ago, and they're like, well, this is when we could get a venue. And I'm like, Jesus.
So
Christ. It's Los Angeles. It's disgusting.
That's true.
But it is.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And I also think you went into this thinking that it didn't mean an engagement ring, and now other people are telling you that it means an engagement ring.
Yeah.
And
Can I
now
talk about the aunt?
the
aunt.
But now she's wondering if it's an
aunt.
engagement ring, and now I'm like, if it's not that, which your first instinct that it wasn't, she'll be disappointed if it's not an engagement ring.
Psychic
So you have to. I can't. I don't know how to dive into.
I think she's gonna be disappointed no matter what if it's not an engagement ring. So you're gonna have to have that conversation,
and
also,
then be like, don't propose unless it's an engagement ring.
That psychic aunt, is that a gift or is it a curse? I don't
That's
know
so
if a psychic aunt
That's
is like,
so
that's so
aunt.
Raven. God, that's so Raven.
Oh
my God.
I can't. I really can't.
I can't. I don't know if I.
That's where I lost it.
I don't think I'd be able
I
to.
swear I lost it too. I'm really sorry.
I would either call her all the time or like
Never.
Yeah.
I would just be
never
like,
want to know.
She's like, you're gonna die tomorrow.
yeah.
Oh
Also,
God.
does she say that, or does she only say the good things? Also,
Yes,
let's
does
talk
she
about
say
this.
this?
Is she close with your boyfriend? Maybe he just told her.
Maybe he just told her.
True.
Psychic aunt.
How much is she
Psychic
predicting?
aunt. Is she an aunt if she's psychic?
Or
she's an aunt.
She's
right?
an aunt.
She's not an aunt.
She's not an aunt.
No.
No.
Oh my God.
Ants are young and wear like.
Oh, I am
like
so ready for that
waterline
Netflix
eyeliner.
show. Psychic
aunt. Oh, I want her name to be like Marjorie or something.
Yes.
And like I want her not to have a job in the whole family. Like she's
she does not
too
have
high
a-
demand.
Yeah.
Like
she's
they need any
constantly-
beckoning call.
Yeah.
They're like Marjorie, and she's like, "That's
Yes.
Aunt Marjorie."
No, and I knew you were gonna call.
I knew.
Ooh, hello.
Hello. And how'd you know? Color ID.
Let's write this.
We have
need to. This
It's
is
necessary.
such a good idea.
I'm just ready for every Kathy Bates outfit ever.
Yes.
just
I'm
adorning
so
silk.
into
Silk
it.
kimonos.
So many
all day,
caftans
every
too.
day.
Lots of like
love
slight cultural
caftans.
appropriation in her outfits
Always.
though.
And you're like, I
And she
don't know
definitely
if you
lives in the
should
South.
be- Yeah, 100%.
And just like various religious artifacts that don't all go with one religion.
Oh, so many masks on her wall. And you're like,
Yes.
I don't think you should have
No, none
that
of
peace
these.
pipe.
Did you buy
either.
this?
Yeah.
Where did you get these?
It's all her lovers. All of her lovers.
Yes.
give
So
to
many.
her
She loves
treasures.
international lovers.
She does. Lovers.
Lovers. They come by boat.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
God,
actual
this is awesome.
explorers.
I'm ready.
It's
Me
so
too.
good.
I mean, I guess so. In a nutshell, have a conversation with your psychic aunt.
Yeah. No,
But
talk to your
have a
fucking
conversation
boyfriend.
with your boyfriend first,
Yeah.
right? Oh, psychic Aunt Marjorie.
Oh, so psychic.
So
The
psychic.
most psychic.
Most psychic.
Good God.
Ugh.
Okay.
I'm
Whew.
ready. That was good. That was great.
I lost it.
Okay, guys. On to the
Right.
next call.
I'm ready. On to the next call. That was a great first call.
It's only
Wow.
going to get better. I
can't
don't know
wait.
that.
No,
I don't know what's
I
happening.
think it has to.
Hi, Megan. I'm 19 years old, and my boyfriend is 20 years old. Him and I have been together for almost 4 years now. He used to be super sketchy about his phone. He would sleep with it in his hand, or it would be in his pocket, and I just wasn't allowed to touch it. Around this time last year, I found out that he had been flirting through Snapchat and text with a friend for about a year and a half, which at the time was half of our relationship. And he had told her that we had been broken up and would try to hang out with her. I had talked to her, and when I had found out, I had talked to her, and she had said that they never hung out and that she was not interested. But I was still extremely hurt and ended up leaving him for about 6 months. He would say he never had feelings for her, but it's a little hard to believe. For the most part, I didn't talk to him up until the end of November, and he made it clear that he wanted to be with me and only me. He was totally different the second time around, and he treated me so much better. In February, I decided to give him a second chance. Now it's June, and we have been doing really well. We aren't fighting like we used to, and in general, our relationship is better than before. My parents and my sister like him and see that we are in a much better relationship. But in the last 3 weeks, he's been starting to hide his phone again. I'm not the type of girl to look through his phone. I don't even have his password. It makes me feel icky, and I probably only looked through it about 3 times throughout the whole relationship. I don't want to look through his phone because I'm just not that type of girl. But if I do end up finding something, I would be hurt, but at least I know. The advice I'm wanting, is it justifiable for me to look through his phone? How can we try to rebuild my trust in him if there isn't anything on his phone and he truly changed?
Well, I mean, in my belief,
Yeah.
if you get paranoid
Yeah.
and you think something's there, something is there.
Someone's there.
I have a really great track record, which is also like a great and terrible thing of like every time I've had like a sinking feeling about a relationship,
Yeah.
I've never been wrong, which
Yeah.
like satisfies me being like, wow, I'm right. But also it's
Wow.
like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Like that thing I didn't
Yep.
want.
Yep.
Women especially, like we're so, you just know. Like
Just
you,
know.
it's like
There's a woman's intuition.
there is
it's like a thing.
Even girls, like you literally have sex one time. You're like, oh, I'm pregnant, and then they know, and you're like, how
They
the
know,
fuck
yeah.
did you know?
No.
Like you're just. If you are suspecting it, not only do you have reason to believe it because
Yeah.
this has happened before and it was the same stuff, just that feeling you have.
I think, it would be different if you were just being paranoid or if you were just like, whatever. There's a track record. There's a track record that
Exactly.
he has of that, and he's hiding his phone again. And to not want to be that girl, it's like,
Yeah.
that's fine at the same time. But I think, once again, it's like, have the conversation with him. If he doesn't let you, ask him to see his phone. If he doesn't let you see his phone, then there's a reason.
And I
There's
also
a reason.
think you saying that you don't want to be that girl is so the male voice and
Yeah.
talking that. That's not a
Yes.
thing girls say, of being like, I don't want to be that girl. We've decided we've been told that the girl who looks through her boyfriend's phone is crazy.
Is crazy.
Not the guy who's made this
Who's
girlfriend so
making- yes,
insecure and made her
exactly.
feel like
And
she
made
needs to
her
look
feel
through
like
his
she
phone.
actually has to do that. Yeah, no, there's,
Yeah. No
your
one wakes
feelings
up
are
one day and is
very
like, I'm
much
going to do
warranted.
this.
No, it's like there are people that I do know that are just crazy, jealous, paranoid people. And I've had friends that have been in a relationship with them and they've been like, I don't know. And you can look through everything. Here's all my
Yeah.
passwords. It's fine. But that's not a that girl thing. When you're sitting here saying this person has had problems in the
Yeah.
past with this and I'm getting this feeling again, it's like, I don't know. Where, what is it? Where there's grease, there's fire.
Smoke, there's
it's
fire.
There's
Smoke,
grease,
yeah.
there's fire. But where there's smoke, there's fire. It's
Yeah.
one of those things where you're like, Yeah, just I'm not telling her to look in the phone, obviously, but look in that goddamn phone.
I mean, if you don't, you just have to know if you go into it looking for something
and you find
you're gonna
something.
find it. Like if you have that feeling,
if you do find it, you have options of confronting or not. But I kind of feel like if you're gonna be stuck in that same repetition, like
it's gonna
it's gonna happen. It's one of those things. I think youth is a difficult thing because I think it's difficult. Like I always say once a cheater, always a cheater. Because that's been my experience, because that has been my experience, not only with like my own life, but with like all of my friends. And now we're in that age where it's like marriage cheating. Yeah. You know, where you're like, yeah, that's what it was. It was consistent marriage cheating. But it is like youth is difficult because there's a lot of feelings and your frontal lobe isn't formed until you're 22. Fact. But it's, you know, it's kind of one of those things. Once a cheater, always a cheater. If he's going to do that, then he's going to consistently do that. And he's not respecting you or your feelings at all. And he's not trustworthy for your heart and your love. So run. And
I also just think it's not, even if he had changed, the feeling of just like paranoia and stress and worry, even if there's nothing there, you don't have to settle for that. Like that's not a livable kind of like relationship.
Also, then if you are that, and I've had friends that have actually gotten past cheating in their relationships. Like I've had friends that have done that and they've done it well, but that means that person, whoever got caught, is literally like an open book.
Completely.
Very much is like, great. Yeah. You feel that way. You have a feeling about that person. I guess I'm going to have to cut
They're in the
that
doghouse for years.
Yes. No, really. Yeah. Like there are friends I know that like, because they came through an affair or infidelity in the relationship, like it's like I've had friends that have been like, yeah, and then she had to fire that person because her husband felt a way about him, and she was like, yeah, that's my marriage and now I have to do that. And it's like you have to respect that. So if you confront him and he's going to have an issue about it, he's got to respect that has made you feel that way in the past and he's hurt you in the past. So welcome to it. Welcome to being, quote, in the doghouse, or also welcome to trying to respect your partner enough and give her that open, you know, love and admiration that makes her feel loved and trusted. So welcome to it. If he has an issue, I always say ditch him. Yeah. Ditch him. Because it's the same thing. You're going to have that lording over your head constantly. The second that he doesn't show you something on his phone, or the second that he has his phone on him at all times, or the fact that he sleeps with his phone is,
dude, that's so
that's like he keeps a grip during his sleep on his phone.
Yeah, that's like a hostage situation.
That is a hostage situation. That is a have you looked through boyfriend's phones?
Yes. I have. Have I found things every time?
Yes.
Did I know I was trying to find it? Yes. Did it still suck?
Yes. But it is also, I've had things happen too where I've like looked through boyfriend's phone, found something, and then he like went in later and deleted everything. Oh my God. And I was like, well, thank God I saw it all. Right. Like, thank God I actually, because otherwise he would have been like, nothing happened. I was like, girl, I saw.
No, you know what my trick was taking pictures of said phone with whatever I was looking at with then my phone.
So smart.
And then I would send them to my friend.
Why you have an advice podcast.
It is. I would send them to my friend. Then they would save them in a private folder on their phone, and I would delete everything off of mine.
This is some Harriet the Spy shit.
But call me Veronica Mars.
She's ready.
She's fucking ready.
She's doing it. No, it is crazy. Like, I don't know. I think you look. I think that's just my opinion. And I know it's going to be like, well, if there's trust, and it's like, well, he hasn't warranted trust. He hasn't built that relationship.
He doesn't deserve that. And also, in rebuilding your trust, he cannot, not only does he need to go above and beyond in showing you that you can trust him, he specifically cannot do the things he did before that made you not trust him. Yeah. And also, my only thing is with, you have to so trust your gut with this, because especially with guys or anyone who really has it, like it struggles with telling the truth and lying and things like that, you can be made, and I've been made out to be, I'm crazy, and like these feelings of paranoia, that's on me, and then you're doing nothing else, so you feel all of this shame and blame for not only looking at someone's phone, but then feeling that you can't.
And it's on them. It's on them that they're doing that
because they made you feel like that. Behind that stupid Pinterest quote, like behind every crazy girl is a guy who made her feel insane.
No, that's like that's what that is. That really is good, because it's so true. It's one of those things where you're like, and you said it perfectly, of you don't have to live with that. No, that's really it. It's like you don't have to live with that feeling. There are plenty of people in this world that want to treat you well and want to respect you and want to not do that. So unless Unless you got like a chocolate flavored dick or something,
Yeah.
you fucking run.
It's
And even then, that'll get old.
Right. It'll get old.
Right?
You'll want
You're like,
strawberry,
I'm
vanilla.
good tonight. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Moving on.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, it sucks. We've all been there, but I think you gotta look through it and then.
Yeah, I mean,
choose.
I think you are warranted to look at his phone, and if he says no, then you're warranted to have the conversation of this is how you're making me feel, and you're also warranted to run away.
You know what I would do though? I would look at it first, then pretend you didn't look at it, then ask him if you can look at it, and then see if he's deleted anything.
She's Harriet the spy.
I've done
She's
it.
Veronica Mars.
I would do that. Then you see if there was something, even if something you didn't, if you looked at it and it didn't seem suspicious, if he deleted anything, then there was something suspicious that even you didn't realize.
No, she's right. Yeah, look through it
like
first.
that
Look through it
too.
first,
I like
then
it too.
ask him.
Yeah.
Then if he says yes.
It's also, you want to be in the know, and you have to be in the know, because there's things that really, it's like, from personal experience, there's things that you've seen that you're just like, this would shatter my earth if I found it. I found
Completely.
it, and now I know. And if you're gonna lie about that, then that says everything about who you are as a person.
Completely.
That I need to know. Like, it says everything. If you're diminishing what is happening, or if you're doing that, or you're making me feel crazy when I am 100% warranted to feel this way, then no, you're done.
Yeah.
You're toast. Go away.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
There
To
it
you,
is.
not you. To
No,
your
to
boyfriend.
not you, to your
boyfriend.
Obviously, to your boyfriend.
Duh.
Also,
You're great.
You're 19, girl.
Oh my god.
You have so
many more dicks.
so many
So many
things
more
ahead
dicks.
of you. One, a career. Get it,
True.
get it, girl.
True.
Two, at 24, you should probably start investing in your future.
Yeah.
From 24 to 35, you could really get a retirement fund that could, over the time, gain interest that could really set you for life. It's not going to happen any other time besides 24 to 35.
Okay, I'll work
that
on
percentage. Work on it.
it. Okay, I'll work on it.
That's all.
We're going on to the next call.
Hey Megan, I'm 15 and I have a question for you about my older sister and our relationship. So my sister and I were really close when we were little, but we began to grow apart when I was going into middle school. And this was around the same time that my sister started using drugs. Now, at the time, my family was not aware of it, but I had a sneaking suspicion the whole time, and I never said anything. My sister would go on random walks late at night and spend pretty much all of her time in her room. At her worst, she even stole some money from me, which I confronted her about, but she denied it at the time, and I believed her. Thankfully, we moved from Texas to Wisconsin before things got even worse, and she has been clean for over a year. However, our relationship is completely shredded. Even though it sucks, and I guess it makes me a horrible person, I resent her for making me harbor such anxiety and stress because of her. Because of her, I have this deep-seated fear of drugs, and any mention of them would trigger an anxiety attack. I've gotten a lot better, but still don't quite know what to do about our relationship. I've spoken to her therapist about these feelings to help aid in her recovery, but feel as though she does not recognize the struggle that myself and my family endured when she was using. If you have any thoughts on how to help me either let go of my resentment or how to revive my relationship with my sister, I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks. Bye.
Oh, baby. I'm so sorry, because drugs are hard. Drugs are really, drug addiction it's addiction. It's not drugs, it's addiction. Addiction is very difficult. It's it really is one of those things that can, I think, tear up a family apart so viciously. So I will give you guys props that she's been clean a year, that you guys are a family that obviously cares and like wants to put her first in that sense. It is, it's a difficult thing because it's so hard. I don't know if you're going to get yet in her recovery, because she said she's a year, and a year is pretty fresh, actually. A year is like real fresh. 3 years is technically fresh, and AA and stuff like that. 3 years is some of the most difficult time before you relapse and like have certain thoughts. So, I don't know what her recovery process was. I don't know if she, did AA or anything else like that, but my favorite quote from AA is, "You're powerless over people, places, and things." And That's something for you to take on as well, where yes, I'm sure you're hurt. I'm positive there's a lot of resentment. I don't think it makes you a bad person.
No.
You said it makes me a horrible person. No,
Not
God,
at
no.
all.
These are feelings that you have that you are 100% warranted for, especially because it's hard with a family because you see the hurt that it brings onto the people that you love. It's not just you. Like, sure, you're on the back burner. You're having anxiety attacks because of that, and that is so unfair. But also, you get to see your parents struggle with it, and that's awful. Do know that it's a disease. It is, and it's hard to like justify that because you keep thinking it's the person and their actions. But it is a disease. It's a disease, and it takes over. And so, in her recovery right now, you might not get that beautiful, heartwarming Hollywood movie, I'm so sorry for everything that I've done and how I made you feel. But know that that is a process that hopefully with her therapist she is going through. And I think it's smart of you to talk about that because your therapist needs to bring that up to her of like, hey, you hurt these people in your life. In AA, there is the like, you make, what is
amends,
it? Amends.
Right?
Yeah, you make amends. You make amends to the people that you've wronged. You do that. I have people come into my life a lot that are like, hey, remember 7 years ago? And I'm like, yeah. And you're like, yeah, all right. Sorry about it. But I've gone to AA a lot with friends. I have a lot of friends that are in the program. And I also think it's such a beautiful thing for if you have any codependency issues or if you have any like other issues like that it is beautiful in that sense to help you get through it. But this is it's a tough one because it might take time. It might take time and honest communication and, and just don't expect her to feel as sorry that she needs to feel for you because right now she's going through the addiction and that sucks to like kind of say that, But it is a difficult thing of saying just right now she's working on her and she doesn't see the forest of the trees. She doesn't see it. She will. I really think if she goes through her whole thing, I have friends and family. I have family that specifically has years later been like, I messed up. Yeah. Apologies for Christmas. And you're like, yeah, I get it. But it's her own process. And I do think you're warranted in feeling that way. So know that the world understands exactly how you feel, but she might take time to apologize for that. And amending the sisterhood will take time. Yeah. You know?
She might not ever apologize for it. And I think that's something that people I know and are in my life that we've had to kind of manage our expectations with that. Yes. And the only thing you want is for this person to be clean, happy, and healthy. And if you don't realize all the havoc you wreaked on everything else, that's okay, because ultimately that recovery is the most important part, because whatever damage that they've caused, they're not going to be causing any more by continuing to use. And so I think it would feel so great to have that kind of apology. But I also think exactly like you're saying, like addiction is a disease. And I grew up with a kid who had leukemia, and he had to go get treatments and everything like that. And his brother went to a camp for siblings of kids who had leukemia because they were also affected by this. It was like, this is my brother who's incredibly sick. Yeah. And here I am feeling super selfish because I'm not getting as much attention from my family. Yeah. I'm upset because this is like ruining my childhood. I also am terrified for him, and I'm living in fear. And now I'm stressed about everything, and I'm like afraid of the world. And I think you need to see your own therapist for that. I think that's so smart. It's important to know that like everything you're saying, like all of your feelings are totally valid. You don't have to, like, you can resent her, you can be upset. Like those are really normal feelings. And there's something that it's just what happens to people who are kind of caught in the crossfire of those terrible things. And you got to just like address it head on, because you hear that when you have like kids who grew up with parents who had addiction issues and they go to therapy for that, like being surrounded by something like that, it's something that happened in your life as well that you didn't have the choice about. And I think if you talk to a therapist, you're going to seek so much less from your sister and realize that you these, and I am like, also, I'm terrified of drugs, like so scared of drugs. Like I can't watch Breaking Bad. I can't watch.
I couldn't either.
Oh my God. The night of, immediately,
no,
there was
I'm
just,
like,
I saw a little bit of white
see you
dust.
later,
And I went, nope,
bye.
I went to college. I don't need to see any more cocaine.
I'm
like,
good. I'm right.
Fully freaks me out.
I'm the angry person at the party. Like if there's Coke, I'm like, we're leaving.
Oh my, completely.
Bye.
If I see someone
Like,
go into a bathroom
I'm
for
like,
too
bye,
long, I'm like,
we're
I need to
gone.
go home.
I gotta go home. I'm very uncomfortable.
Yeah. And I think if you can communicate that, just know that that's okay and that's normal. There are lots of people who just feel, I get terrible anxiety around drugs. Like it's normal. You can feel like that and that's fine. Making sure you're communicating that with like your friends and the people in your life as well. Because I think the biggest issue here that you need to tackle is that you feel guilty for resenting your sister and for feeling upset, and you need to like let go of that shame, realize that this did also happen, this didn't happen to you in the same sense that it happened to her, but this affected your life, and you need to treat it accordingly, just like your sister is going through that process. I think you need to as well, because I think it's okay that it's affected you. I think it would affect anybody, but you need to let your sister focus on her own recovery, and you need to focus on you.
Yeah. Well, and you said it really beautifully, like manage your expectations of her. Like that's really it, is like to expect this behavior of a very clean person that doesn't have an addiction and doesn't have a past of selfishness and isn't just gigantically focused on that is not a real expectation. It's not something that's going to happen necessarily, which sucks. And I'm sorry. I am sorry. That sucks. But at the same time, as long as you keep managing those expectations and going like, I know I'm not going to get this, but I can try and build whatever small bridge that I can moving forward. I can appreciate that she's getting better and getting clean. There's people in your life. I mean, I'm sure you've had it too. We've all gotten to that point where there's people that you cut out that it's unfortunate, or it's not like you just cut them out because you're cold. It's self-preservation. It's that thing of like, I know that you're going to hurt me, and I know that I'm going to expect you to act one way and you're not going to do that. And so I'm going to have to limit my interactions with you until you're ready to get sober and clean and be a kind, generous, normal person. And that might take time. So what I can do right now is be there for you if you need me, and and limit whatever that interaction is that gets me so frustrated. Because
they're not doing it to you.
No.
That's the biggest thing that I had to realize.
This
has nothing to do with me.
You expect it to be that normal behavior, and you forget that it is a disease that completely consumes their life. And, thank God she is getting clean. So some people don't have that luxury. I know that's a weird thing to keep her perspective about, but some people don't have the luxury of that person in their life getting clean and building that road. And I know it does take time. I mean, again, I've had people that like 8 years later have been like, hi, and you're like, oh, there you are, Peter. Like, okay, great. But I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. And I think Meghan's right. Therapy is key, because I love therapy. Been around for about 15 years in my life now, and I love it.
Hey,
it's great.
It's a good song.
It is a great song.
We should send it to iTunes.
It's iTunes. I'm going to put it on there, I think. I have to now.
The therapy song.
It's real short.
But it takes a really long time, and it's quite expensive.
Quite expensive.
Okay, guys, it is time for a break, and we'll be back very, very soon. Today's episode of Don't Blame Me is brought to you by me. Kidding. Not really. Kind of. This is just me shamelessly promoting us on the Apple Podcast app. I love finding out that people have discovered us through there. And the way that they can do that is by you guys leaving some fantastic reviews, because you're nice people. So if you leave here's what you have to do. If you have ever left a mean review on Yelp, you have to leave a nice review on this podcast. You're just evening out your karma. Not that you shouldn't write mean reviews on Yelp, but I just mean if you can take the time to do that, you can take the time to write a nice review. Like this person who said, too formal of a review, but I love this podcast. Oh, I'm excited for a formal review. Is this like school? I've never written a review for a podcast, but felt the need to write one for the particular podcast because it's so good. I found this podcast because I've been watching Meghan's videos since 2014, and I love her personality and honesty. It's by far my favorite podcast that I've ever listened to. Meghan's humor always guarantees a laugh, so on the incredibly slim chance that Meghan is reading this, thank you for putting this podcast out and making me smile every time I listen to it. Keep what you're doing, and thanks again. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That means a lot. And I do read them, guys. See, proof right now. So shout out to you. I think usernames are really hard to read because I can't tell if it's like your real name or it's your first name combined with your last name. So I'm not going to name drop you, but you know who you are, and I did read it. So thank you so much for leaving that review. And you guys heard her. She's never written a review for a podcast, and she did it. It's not that hard. Get your good karma points in, and I will love you all forever. So thanks so much. Leave a review on the Apple Podcast app. 5 stars only 'cause I'm needy and need validation. It's Leo. It's almost Leo season. Okay, back to the episode. Okay, guys, we are back from our break, and we're gonna hop into some more calls.
Hi, Meghan. So I'm 22 years old, and I've been in this relationship for a little over 2 years, and we're both very serious about this relationship. We see each other quite often, but there's this one problem. It's that, so this is for both of us, it's our first real relationship, and he has this fear that he's missing out on life, in a sense that he's not experiencing as much, because we both talk about marriage and being together forever, but he feels that he's not living life to the fullest, because he hasn't really experienced anything with any other girl, and it's kind of a reoccurring fear for him in our relationship. And he talks to me about it. We're very open to each other, so we talk about everything. And so he tells me about it, but I don't really know how to respond to it. I don't feel the same way. This is my first relationship as well, but I feel like I'm fine with just being with him in the future. But I also know friends that kind of think like this. They kind of want to have fun and live life a little bit and experience and have be in multiple relationships before committing and settling down, and I understand that completely, but I don't know what to do, because a half of me understands that people want to experience life and be in multiple relationships before settling down for marriage and having kids and being with that one person until the rest of their life, but also we're both in love, and it sucks because we met so early, and if we met maybe in our late 20s, we probably would have just been in the relationship for 2 or 3 years, got married and settled down, and I just think it's really bad timing in a sense that we met at such a young age. So I don't know what to do. I don't know what kind of advice to give him, because I obviously want to be with him, he wants to be with me, but I guess it's just not right. So yeah, if I can just get your advice on this, it'd be great. Thank you.
It's tough.
It is tough. And she also said something where if it was a different call, it's advice that I give where it's if you meet later on in life, it might have worked. Yeah. Because I'm a huge believer in it's so much more about you than it is about the person that you're going to end up with. It's about what you want and your mindset at that age. Yeah. And so I think honestly, it sounds like what he wants her to say is why don't you go have sex with a couple other people and come back?
I'm gonna go do that.
Yeah, that's kind of what it's like. I mean, I half kidding, half serious. That's kind of what it sounds like he's hoping you're gonna say.
Well, and there is something to it. I don't mean to be that person, but there is something to, I don't know. I keep thinking of if I would have ended up with the people that I was with when I was younger, in hindsight now, and how much I've progressed as a person, and how my career has changed, and finding who I found is who's the most supportive person I've ever met in my life. And I thought I had support before, and then you actually get it, and you're like, oh, that's what it
the
is.
Real stuff.
Okay, good to know. It's difficult because I also understand a little bit of where he's coming from, of wanting to experience all these things, and I will say this, that's not going to change. Marriage isn't going to change that. Commitment isn't going to change that. If he feels that way, that's something that he's going to feel probably until he feels like he's done what he needs to do in that realm. It sucks that you don't feel that way. It really does. You might find out that you do later.
It might just hit you a little bit
later on. I've seen that happen a lot too, haven't you?
Yeah.
I have very close friends that get married and then years later are like, shit, you know? And that's not to say that it's not a serious thing. It kind of is just, it'll speak to your strength, I think. Like, do you think that you're the kind of person that could say, okay, we're broken up, I'm letting you go and sow your wild oats, and if we come and find each other again, which I have seen happen.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I actually have seen happen. One of my closest friends, he did his whole life, and literally like at 32, he was like, I miss her. My 18-year-old girlfriend that he had. Yeah. And then like, they met up for one weekend. They dated for 6 weeks and they got engaged and now they're married. They have 2 kids. It's like a thing. He was like, I always missed her. And it was like, you know, that's so beautiful. But are you strong enough as a person to be like, I'm okay with you going out into the world, sowing your wild oats. By no means does that mean that you're going to be sitting there waiting.
There's not like a 2 weeks and then we're back.
No, and it's not also you just sitting there waiting for him to figure it out. It's like, bitch, go do you. But that might have to happen. Age is tough because it is true. Like again, do you think about that? Like I think about if I would have ended up with any of the serious relationships that I would have been with,
everything would have been terrible. Everything would have been
so
bad.
Horrible.
Like if I had ended up with, if I think about it, if I ended up with the guy I had my first kiss with, first of all, I think he lives on on a commune in like doing something weird, like just like so beyond crazy, has like a beard and hairs all combined. He can't even put his hair up.
Very good to me, Meghan.
Like, but I mean, he's like
I am 100%
very hot, but like
this.
I don't think he's had like shoes for years or job. No, not at all.
See, if I would have dated the guy that I had my first kiss with or was my first relationship with, I would be doing motocross every weekend.
Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
I would be like
I'm just
a motocross
imagining
wife being like, hell yeah. Like that's who I would
crushing
be.
beers on your
Yeah,
head.
crushing beers on my head. My 3-year-old would be like fully nude.
Yes.
You know, as
yes, with a mohawk.
Yeah, like opening beer bottles with his teeth. Like
look at the trick Jimmy can do.
Yeah. And then also I would definitely be the breadwinner because there's no way he was going to get a job.
Yeah. Well, and there's that fear that I also think of when I, not even the people I had the first relationships with, but the first time I felt like this could be it.
Yes.
Those people, and I think about it, I think so the thing that I don't know, I think I believe that you can love multiple people. And I also believe when I think back to like my 16-year-old boyfriend, I still refer to him as like the first guy I ever loved. And because I love my boyfriend more now doesn't mean that I didn't love my first boyfriend. I loved him as much as I could at 16. But 24-year-old me can love so much more and so differently.
Also, I feel like there's a you know, tuning into yourself. Like there's a self-actualization that happens a little bit in your youth and in your 20s that you're like, oh, I did that. I really thought I loved that guy, but I didn't know who I was and I didn't know anything like that. And it's not, again, I don't want to like shit on the guy for wanting to go and do that because thank God he's being honest with you and talking to you about
he could just be doing that and then
he could just be an a-hole and just being like, I'm sowing my wild oats, but he's talking to you about that. And there is truth in that. There is like, I don't know, I have so many friends and family that have done the game of like getting married really young or like getting married to the first person that they loved or just, you know, like standing tried and true to that person. And then that creeps up on them. And there's, you know, like he's trying to be honest and open with you right now and saying, I feel this way. And I really, really, really think that's something that's impossible to shake. Do you feel like that?
I wouldn't be able to shake that.
I wouldn't be able to shake it either.
And I would also think you need to ask him like the next time and be like, thank you for being so open and honest with me. What do you want to do about that?
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean for you? Is it just that you want to talk about it and get it off your chest because you feel guilty? Or like, how can we fix this feeling that you have and this issue that you have? Because I think there's also that fear that is hard to recognize. But when you think, okay, the whole phrase, if you love something, let it go. I think there's also that fear of being like, okay, we separate for 2 years. Not only your fear of being like, well, what if like he never comes back? There's also that fear of being like, wow, what if I realize that I don't love him as much as I thought I did?
That's really it.
And that's that scary feeling of being like, now I can say this and like being like emotionally in it that I know that I really care about this person. But what if this whole time there's been something else out there, and that's a scary fear too.
It's a scary fear. It's also a scary fear, like if you're anything like a normal human being and you do get jealous in any way, like there is that thing of like he's going to be with other people, and that's heartbreaking. It is. It's like there's no other way to say that. Like whenever that happens, even if you have an amicable breakup. Amicable was a way harder word than I should have said at the moment.
It is a hard word.
I was like, that's
It came out
great.
Around. But even if you've had a good breakup, whenever someone is with someone else, it's devastating. It just is, because you think about how they were with that person, how they're with you. It's rough. There's no other way to put it. But it takes strength. It takes strength to be like, okay, that person is living their life. I'm going to go live mine. And you might be very surprised of what you find. You might also be surprised that you're like, okay, we did love each other and this is real and whatever. And he sowed all of his wild oats. But it is difficult because, again, it's not something that gets easily fixed.
No, you don't want to live in the state of that feeling.
Yeah. And there really is no, if that's going to be something that he's feeling, that's going to be something that he's feeling for a very long time. And there's not much to go around it. But I think Meghan's right in the sense of, ask him what he means by that, because if that's just him getting it off his chest, or if it means that you guys have to be apart, then they might have to be apart, and that sucks. But also,
you want to find out now rather than
if he never comes, if he's never going to come back, you want to know now rather than another 2 years down the road.
Also, I mean, I don't know, I think there's things that happen. I've seen friends that have been in relationships where like someone else will come along and like, you know, you're like, oh, you guys would be perfect together. And then they've been in shitty relationships. And then it's just been that constant back and forth. And I don't know, I have friends right now that like years ago I wanted to set them up. Like years ago I was like, God, they'd be perfect for each other. And now they're together. Yeah. But it took like 3 really horrible relationships that I was like, oh, she's in a relationship. And he's like, oh, man. And then I'm like, oh, he's in a turd sack of a relationship. Like I kept being like, they're both with horrible people. And now they're together and they like love each other. It's really cute. But
that makes them
like,
appreciate it more too.
Yes. Yeah, it really does. So it's a tough conversation that you're going to have.
Yeah, you got to have. Because no matter what, you're always going to be the first girl that he's been with, and until he's with somebody else, you'll be the only girl. So that fear is just a fact. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
No,
like,
it is.
That he's worried he's only going to be with one person. Like, that's a fact.
That's a fact.
If he's never with anybody else.
Yeah. And it's, again, it's also, I mean, it's difficult because I think men and women, women don't get enough credit for that kind of stuff. I think men are always like seen as the sex guys that go off and it's
vagina of my
life. Screw that. Like I think I do.
Dick of my life.
Lost dick of my life. Yeah. You know, it's like, all right. Or just less person of your life. That weird intrigue, that like joy or whatever, all those different things. All those things tend to diminish, but then other beautiful things do pop up in our eyes, you know, but it is like, you know, I mean, I don't know. I've been married a year. I don't remember the last time that it was like that weird, like, I mean, that being said, he's my best friend. I love him more than anything in this world.
But there's like, that difference of like that sparkle
the, like,
feeling.
Shucks crush feeling.
Or if like, oh my gosh, is he gonna text me back? I'm like, you better fucking text me back. Bring home toilet paper. We're out.
We're out.
And like, I can call you 10,000 times in a row and not feel like, am I being crazy?
No, I'm like calling and I'm like, pick up your phone, you dip.
Yeah,
like,
and there's something that's also so sweet and like exciting about that.
Yes.
That feeling of being like, I can text you 10,000 times in a row.
And and also, and like, you know, you save shows for them, and there's like, and he's your partner, and he's your best friend. It's just like that weird thing of just like, I miss him. I miss him now.
All of those stages are good. Yeah,
all of those stages are beautiful. Yeah. But there is something to that weird thing of like all that aw shucks weird crush of like he like that goes.
Yeah.
Other he's come through, and you're like he. We gotta start a savings.
Yeah.
401k. 401k. We should have invested in our future.
I love it. And we are on to the next call.
Ooh.
Hi, Meghan and Mo. I'm 18 years old, and right now I'm in like the summer before I go to college. So I'm just like enjoying my time, hanging out with friends, doing all that kind of stuff. And for like a little bit of background with me, I've never had any like, besides like make out, I've never had any like real experience with boys or anything like that. So this summer I decided to just have some activities and just hoe out and just be like how I want to be before I get into college and like all the everything, like when life actually hits you and then all those like serious things, and specifically, like, with my friends, I feel like whenever I tell them anything or what's going on, because I realize once you're actually open with guys, they just flood in. I feel like I'm getting judged a little bit, considering whenever they were going through their own, like, things, and they were, like, you know, finding themselves, even though we are pretty young, I didn't judge them. I let them experience what they wanted to do and how they wanted to, you know, go on with their life and, like, their sexual endeavors. So my question is, like, how am I supposed to, like, come off without being a quote-unquote hoe? Because I used to have that same idea that, oh, if I'm, like, going out and doing these things, even if it's just with one person, I'm not mature enough to, like, you know, want to be in a relationship or something like that. But now that I'm a little bit older and a little bit mature, I feel like anything is a learning experience, and as long as you and the other person are consensual and you're, like, you know where you stand, that there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's really no such thing as a hoe, in my opinion. And so I just, like, because I feel like I'm just speaking to a brick wall whenever I say these things, and, like, my friends can be understanding, but it's like I'm more understanding towards them and I'm more helpful towards them than they are towards me. So, yeah, like, how do I go about that situation of saying how I feel without coming off as, like, I just want to be a hoe?
I love it.
Did you say summer of
fucktivities?
Fucktivities.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was sextivities, and I was like, no, I think it's fucktivities. Both of them.
Which
are
sounds
great.
like fuck titties.
Fucktivities.
It just sounds like fuck titties.
Fucktivities.
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 I think. Well, I mean, like, I just want to be a hoe is also probably going to be my new anthem.
Yeah, my Instagram, my Twitter bio.
Activities.
I just want to be a hoe.
I just want to be a hoe.
I just want to be a hoe. I mean, it's a fun game to play.
Yeah.
One, I'm going to say this once. Be safe.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm going to say it twice. Be safe. HPV is real.
Mm-hmm.
It is very serious. And beyond that, there's a gonorrhea resurgence.
I saw those billboards.
I mean, it's real, though. Like, this is some real stuff. And I've had people in my life whose lives have been ruined by stuff because of their fucktivities.
Yes.
So just be safe.
Fucktivities with a condom and birth control.
Condom, birth control. But more importantly, condom is always a really good thing. Yes. Unless you guys go together. My third date is usually to a place to get tested. But it's one of those things. So it's a very important thing. Be safe. Be safe. Be safe. Be safe. Be safe.
And then also have a lot of sex.
If you want to. Yeah. Also, here's my thing that I will say for this. Are you doing it for you, or are you doing it for the need to talk to your friends about it? Because if that is the issue, then that is an issue, in my opinion. If you're doing it for you, if you're doing it to figure out who you are, which is this is a learning experience. It is a real thing. College will hit. The same things will arise in college of, like, boys and cuteness and, like, parties and everything, etc. They'll happen there too. So if you were, like, worried that life was going to take over, don't worry. They're still there.
College is not life.
College is not life. College is not life. But they're still going to be there. There's going to be plenty of sextivities for you to do. If not more. If not more will present themselves. So the question is like, do you want to do this so you can talk to your friends about it? So it can be like a bragging right. So if there's something that you feel like you need to grow up about it, then that's a thing. Or if you want to just do this for you, then do it for you. And you might not get to talk to your friends about it because they have judgments about it. Like, it's a hard thing. People don't tend to know things until they have personal experience with it. It's like, you know, it's just a thing. Like, they don't understand until they either live it, and some people never live it, so they never really understand. There's a very minute group of people that can, like, see something that they haven't experienced and been like,
I understand.
I understand that. You do you. Live your life. Like, no judgments here.
Yeah.
It's such a
small pool.
Very small pool. They're all at Burning Man.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, that's a difficult thing. So if you're trying to do this to, like, be able to have these conversations, you might not get to, especially at the age that you're at with you've just said that you came off of feeling that way for a long time too, how they feel. So this might be conversations that you don't get to have with those friends. There might be other friends that you do get to have that conversation with that are open and have experience with that. But if you are doing this just for, like, your own growth and your own development and like figuring out who you are in that. Be safe, but also like I'm just gonna keep saying that. Be safe.
Don't forget.
But also don't forget. But also then it might just be for you. It might be you learning these things and like, bitch, write a diary because
Sex in the City.
Because it was a huge show, but also because you learn a lot from it.
Yeah.
And then you go like, oh, I hated that. Or like, oh, that is when I figured that out. Yeah. Of like who I am and what I want and et cetera, et cetera. That's my opinion about that.
I'm very much in the same boat with that. I think as much as I wish that like there wasn't kind of that same, I think with like guys, a lot of guys will talk about hooking up with lots of different girls with guys, but they're not gonna really talk about it with their other girls, like with girls, because like that looks bad. But girls don't even really a lot of the time talk about it with other girls because it's a lot of like self-judgment within the female community.
And there is a huge stigma. Like so just note that I think, and this is my again personal experience, you're never gonna change people's idea about the stigma. That's my honest opinion. Like it's not until they go through something in their lives or they do that, the stigma won't change. You can try slowly but surely trying to be like, this isn't this is a dichotomy, this is societal norms that are placed upon it, the women are viewed as objects and that's a difficult part of it, like all these things that you can try and say. But I really think it's difficult to change people's opinions about that and change people's idea about the stigma. You change your idea about the stigma. That's how you move it forward, and then you keep pushing that forward, and whoever's in your life, you change that. But you know, it's a difficult stigma to try and get past, and I think it's not worth it.
Exactly. I think if you want to have a fun summer of like fuck festivities, you need to like, your friends aren't a part of that. And I think like there is that thing like, oh, I don't want to hide stuff from my friends. And like, you don't have to hide things from your friends, but it's not brunch in Sex and the City where you sit down and you're like, do you want to hear about this guy I just hooked up last week, with last night? It needs to be like you're saying that you want to be selfish and do this for you. You have to do it for you. And if your friends want to ask you about it, and you can tell them whatever you feel comfortable telling them. But at the same time, I don't think there's I am all for female empowerment. I also don't think there's anything very nice about like running your mouth about like your sex, like all these people that you've slept with without, I'm saying without their permission or whatever, but like I rarely will like, I will so much more likely talk about like people I've hooked up with or whatever that aren't in like, that I'm not in a serious relationship with or whatever. But I just don't think, I think if you're doing this for you, this needs to be about you and not about the guys, about gossiping about the guys, and not about telling your friends about it. There's a way to answer your friends' questions and not hide things from them, but like still, I don't know, like a lot of people I know have gone through this, but it wasn't like something where everyone knew at the same time.
Yeah. Do you know
what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no,
it's like,
definitely.
It's not I don't want to say you're putting too much of a stress on this being a big deal, but if this is what you want to do for your life, just do it. Like, it doesn't need to be a big deal. There are so many people, like if you meet anyone and they're like 20 singles, like they're sleeping around.
Almost everyone goes through a hoe phase.
And you don't have to like make this a big deal, because I think then there's a little bit of like self-shame there too. Like, should I feel bad?
That's a really big one too, is like, again, if you're doing this for you, do it for you, do it for whatever. Some of the questions that your friends are having might honestly be them trying to learn things about things, like, and I think that you can have that honest conversation of like, look, I'm going to talk to you about it, but one, I don't want you to judge me for it. If I'm going to be honest with you, I don't want you to judge me for it. If you're going to judge me for it, then I guess we just can't have the conversation. Like, that's a very healthy boundary to set with your friends about it. Just say like, I'm going to feel judged by you if you are going to say anything nasty about what I'm doing with my life, because I'm living my life how I want to live it, and not hurting anyone in the process.
Exactly.
Because you're being safe.
That's what you're doing.
Because you're being safe. But you're not hurting anyone in the process. So if you're going to judge me about it, then I guess I can't have an honest conversation. If you want me to have an honest conversation, great, I will. So, because I do think there's a lot of, I don't know about you, but I did a lot of learning through friendship, like through friends' experiences. I did a lot of learning through that, of like, oh, okay, that's something I don't want to do, or like,
or something you're judgmental about, and then 2 years later, you're like, fuck, I did the same thing.
There's so many things in my mind that I like think about that I was like, oh yeah, I would have been like, oh my god, and then now I'm like, that's not that bad.
Exactly.
Live your life. We're all just trying to get by.
Yeah.
But it really is like if you're doing it for the conversations with your friends, you will find also there's a certain subset. I work with boys. I work with 3 at the Valleyfolk. I work with nothing but men. So I am consistently used to talking in that vernacular and in that like TMI world of very open, too open and honest. Yes. And then sometimes I go around other people and I start having conversations and everyone's like, and I'm like, okay. So you guys don't talk about what tattoo you would get on your genitalia for $1 million. Cool. Good to know.
Let her know this is our boundary.
This is our boundary. Got it. But it's a thing. You'll find a group of people that like, if you want honest conversations about it, you're going to find honest conversations about it. It might not be with the friend group that you have right now, but that's for you guys to talk about the Bachelor.
Friends. Yeah. That's like there's a huge difference between hometown the people who've known you since you were like 7 years old. It's like the same way when people think about like there are cute guys that I grew up with that I could never see like that. And I'm like, no, it's because I knew them when they had like headgear and like neon green braces. Yeah. And there's something to be said about like
you pushed me off the swing set, Brian.
Like, and also you've made these previous statements that people are like, oh my God, are you going back on your word? Like college is a time where you can, your views that you have now at 18 years old, those are how people meet you. They don't have any of the who you were before and anything like that. So I think you can also reserve those talks for college. That's a lot of college talk.
I mean, also you're going to learn a lot about yourself. And I will say this too, you might learn some things that you don't like. You might learn a lot of things. Like I've learned things that I don't like about myself of like, what did that require in me? Like, why did I need that attention so bad? Like, what was that satiating in? But haven't you I've had those real conversations, especially in the sexual realm of like, you know, what was I doing that for? Who was I trying to please? Like, what was I trying to get out of that? And like, really be honest with yourself about that too. Like, don't just like you can say you want to live your hotivities and all that, but like be honest with yourself about like what is it for? What's the reason? Is it to find yourself? Is it to grow? Is it to learn everything about yourself? Is it to just have the summer of George? Or is it to like, or is there another need that you're satiating? Like be honest with yourself, because you might learn some shit that you don't want to necessarily address, but it's real. Yeah. It's real shit. So by all means do it, because you can't learn without experience. Exactly. But I do think that there's things.
Yeah. And we've all done it. We've all had that summer.
Had that summer.
Or a couple years.
Or the full summers leading up.
Or
until
life.
Or life.
Or life. We've all had that life. We've all lived that life. It's fine.
We've been there.
Just want to be a hoe.
Just want to be a hoe. What do you want to be when you grow up?
A hoe. Probably a hoe.
Probably would not be.
Probably not a hoe.
Okay, guys, it's time for Producer's Corner. And this is where we either have somebody who listened to our episode and has some either critiques on our advice or some additional advice that we might not have covered from a previous call. Or we have someone who has previously called in updating us on their situation.
I love a good life update. Right? I really do. All right.
Yeah. So this is someone that's calling in to share their own advice. This is from the episode with Tyler Chase about the girl who had wrote a poem that was published in a literary magazine about her emotionally abused father. And I picked this one because I know when we did that one, you were waiting for until after your movie came out to see how things were gonna
that is very true
fold, because you had
a similar situation in my movie.
Yeah. So I'm in a similar situation where I've been emotionally abused all through my childhood by my dad, and it left me with a lot of like mental health issues like OCD and depression and panic attacks. And I paint and I draw and I'm creative like this woman, and I used it all the time to feel better and to make myself feel better and to express myself in ways that I couldn't just talk to someone about. And that's obviously what she's done, and she's obviously really, really good because she's getting published, and that's a massive thing. But she doesn't need to worry, is what I wanted to say, is that they hurt you and they didn't consider you. And so you have every right to help yourself, make yourself feel good. Like, you have every right to heal. They hurt you
and you have to heal, and you don't have to think about them. If it hurts them, that's it. And if it doesn't hurt them, that's great. But you have to think of you, put you first, because she obviously has this amazing talent, and she should be proud of herself for this talent, and she should feel like she can put it forward without even thinking of anyone else, because they didn't think of her. So yeah, I just wanted to say that she shouldn't worry, and she should be proud and happy, and if he reacts badly, screw it, because you dealt with it all through everything, and you're still dealing with it, obviously, and you always do, you still deal with it forever, but she should be proud.
Oh my God, she has the most
I know.
beautiful voice.
So beautiful. It's like Emma Watson.
I
beautiful.
yes, I'm like,
and when she said massive, I was
massive.
like, oh, I love it.
It's just like she's
now
so
I'm realizing
posh.
I should have been in an accent this
The whole
entire
time,
thing. 'Cause
yeah.
everything sounds so much like, yes, just do you.
Like
be a
that-
hoe and it's all right.
just be
like, have your hoe face. Your
Just go for your
fucktivities. It's
fucktivities.
fine.
Live your
your
going to be
life.
fine.
That was really beautiful. I think that's really
So
beautiful.
beautiful.
I hate that she's gone through emotional abuse. I love that she's channeled it through
Yeah.
art. I don't. Groucho Marx has a really good quote. At least I'm pretty positive it's Groucho Marx, but it's "Blessed are the cracked, for they let the light in." And I love that quote so much because it's very much like, I don't know a single person that hasn't been through some amount of something and used it to further their, whether or not it's comedy. I have a lot of comedy friends, and literally one night we were all like, has everyone in this room been abused in some way? Great. Okay. Like all of us raised our
that's why
hands.
we're
of like,
so funny.
Okay, great. All right. Yeah.
It makes sense.
Tragedy. Great.
Yeah.
But it's, you use it, you harness it. I mean, rarely are there the people that are like, lived a pretty easy life.
Oh my gosh.
posh life.
Yeah.
Had a great
Also that never
existence.
lasts.
Yeah. No.
Like, no.
No,
You're just
some
gonna
will
like,
hit.
shit's gonna hit the fan at like 67.
That means that your wave is getting bigger and
Dude,
bigger.
bigger. It's a tidal fucking wave.
Gonna
and
happen.
It consumes you.
Because when it hits, it's gonna
Yeah.
hit. But I think that's really beautiful,
Yeah.
and she's very much right. Of like, you know, however that person feels in your life, it's like, screw it. That's what it is. You're channeling it how you should be channeling it. You can't hold it in, and you got to get through it somehow in that way.
Yeah, and I think nothing is as if, like, coming off of this, I would say like nothing, as much as you stress and worry about it, unless you live with, I don't know, like there's like, you can decline phone calls if someone's calling you to get upset about you or something. Like there's something so fucking great about being on your own. And the original caller was talking about how she's like living on her own. She's not dependent on financially or emotionally for these people. And so that there is something that is so nice about the fact that you have control over what you let into your life as an adult, and you can just put those things out in the universe, and you don't owe anybody anything. You don't owe anybody an apology or a warning. Or I have a friend who's a musician who she still to this day is like the sweetest person, and also very worried about it. She will tell people all the time, being like, I just like feel like I should like let them know in advance that there's this song. I'm like, sweetie, nobody's going to know that it's about them, because all these terrible people that you're writing about think of themselves so highly that they are not the picture that you painted.
That you're like, no. And also I do think there's a thing of like, you know, that's a truth that you have to live in if you're that person. Like that's a truth that you have to be aware of. And I've also seen people heal. I've seen relationships heal through that, where it's like, I've seen people that have gone through things in their lives and they've talked about it very openly and done like, I have a friend that did a moth monologue about it, and then her mother and her relationship healed because of it. You know, it's like things like that, not to say that that is a thing, but results can come through it. And I think sometimes it is necessary for that person to learn about themselves in whatever way is the way. And you're right, like you can decline a phone call. You can absolutely,
and that's not running away or hiding from it.
It's
like,
not.
You
It's
don't
not
have
even like
to.
denying them as a person. It's a tough thing because, especially with those people that are supposed to be your foundation people, you know, like family is a real one that is supposed to be your foundation. And so when they wrong you in some way, or when they don't do what they're supposed to do, then the hurt is so much greater. I think the hurt is so much deeper. And so you have every right to self-preserve and and not feel like you have to have that familial attachment. And it's difficult because those tend to be the hardest ties to sever.
And it's okay to go against the grain with that, because there is this idea of like, no matter what, family always is there. But like, I think
sometimes you're like, nah, man,
it's like, not. And like, ultimately your own mental health and your own well-being is so much more important than like society's idea of a family. And especially if you've been in a situation where you haven't had if you don't have the cookie cutter family, you don't have to abide by those cookie cutter family rules. Whoever is that person in your life who is like unwavering, like unconditional love, those are your family. It's not the people who like fucked and had you. Like they're not
so true.
That relationship
it is so true.
Of like guiding and mentorship and like unconditional love. It's not. Sometimes it is the people who brought you into this world, but sometimes it's not. And that tie and attachment we have to those two things, I think, is the biggest issue, because I'm sure for the original caller, so much of that fear, it comes from like what everybody else thinks of when they think of family.
Well, and there's guilt and there's shame attached to it. There's shame attached to like that person not being what they are supposed to be in their life, and there's shame attached to like you feeling like you're not being what you are in their life. And it's like, well, no, those
we didn't do this for each other. Like,
no, we didn't. And it is such a, my mother came from an abusive mother, and so much of it, I mean, she's in her 60s now, and she still has those issues of like, feeling certain ways about it and being resentful about it. And like, she still talks about how she has to get through that constantly, but it's the truth. It's like that being said, her entire healing was having kids and being the best freaking mother on the face of the planet. Like you'll find your way to heal. You'll find your way to get through it. And if it is through those different artistic endeavors, if it is through finding that person in your life that you're like, oh my God, this is my, this is who I'm attached to now. Like, this is my everything. Then that's how it is, you know? Oh, it's beautiful.
It was so beautiful. Thank you so much for that callback.
Beautiful accent. I just love it so much. I love it.
I can't even do that good of a posh
accent.
Is it bad?
I was in all of her Harry Potter. Like, Harry.
I'm sure she literally has to do that all the. I mean, she probably doesn't have to, because like she probably lives in the UK with lots of people who speak like that.
Yeah. She hates that all Americans are like, oh, Harry Potter. Hello. Beautiful.
Oh, it's gorgeous. So lovely. I loved it.
Really
thank you so much for being on the podcast.
I had a great time.
You were great.
Thank you. I just want to again say that I don't stand by any of it, and you do your life.
It says it's in the title. The title says "Don't blame me." They can't hate us. That's my.
Do not blame me, but also
take all of my advice.
I don't know what to really stick strong, except for be safe sexually.
Yeah, be safe sexually.
Be safe sexually. You do you. You aren't anyone's person but yourself. And if you're young, know that life will move on.
And save money.
Save money.
Yeah.
24 to 35. Who knew?
Well, now I know. Thank God.
It was an NPR thing. It was bad. It was settling in my brain, and I was like, "Well, I've messed it all up. See you later,
done.
everybody.
It's over.
Goodbye, puppy farm. Here I come."
Oh, I love it.
I know.
So where can people find you?
You can find
on the internet.
On the internet.
You don't have to say in real life.
YouTube.com/the Valleyfolk. That's me and my 3 other men that we have a comedy beautiful journey. We just released our pilot today, which is going to be
a great
time. I'm so excited about it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Twitter, Instagram, the Valleyfolk, Lee Newton. That's it.
Amazing.
All those places.
Great. You guys can check out Melissa and I's socials are in the down bar or the description.
The down bar.
The down bar for YouTube. I guess the description for whatever. Fucking iTunes podcast description.
It's in the show notes.
It's in the show notes, and then if you're watching on YouTube, it's in the description. Yeah. I still call it the down bar.
Do you really?
Yeah. I was on. Was anyone ever call it the down bar?
No, you're old school YouTube.
Oh,
That's the down.
I just licked the mic.
Oh no! Wow.
Ooh. They're in a relationship now.
That's it. That's your host story right there.
That's my host story. I wish that was my only host story. One time I licked a mic. Yeah, no. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
Had a great time.
And if you guys want to be a part of another episode, you can let us know what you need advice on in your life by leaving a voicemail at 310-694-0976.
So proud of you.
And again, emailing via audio file to meghanpodcast@gmail.com if you are an international listener with a beautiful accent.
Beautiful accent. Aggressive, beautiful.
What?
I couldn't think of anything.
Transatlantic accent?
Transatlantic is
like
what
Meghan
I was
Markle?
trying to think of. Yes. Oh my God, that was so real, right?
I know.
She was like, no. And you're like, Meghan.
Blasphemy. Yeah, I mean, I don't blame her. I would do it too. It's way prettier.
Yeah, what are you, nuts?
Yeah, just
she's a princess now. She can
assimilate.
do whatever she wants.
No, it's not a British accent. It's a princess accent.
She's a princess.
She's a princess.
She's
Of
gorgeous.
Genovia.
I love
Okay,
it.
guys.
Sorry, we transgressed.
Yep, we're done.
Transgressed.
Transgressed. That's
That's
the
what I
word.
was thinking.
Okay, guys. We'll see you next week. Goodbye. Don't Blame Me is a production by me, produced, directed, and edited by Melissa DeMons. Post-production sound by Chris Henry, production assistant Julie Carley, and music by Giacomo Picasso and Ryan Hunter. I'll see you guys next week, and don't blame me if your life, completely fucks up before then. Oh.